After 2 decades at the top of Red Bull, he's now been ousted in a dramatic shake-up.
Well, after 20 years at the helm of Red Bull Racing, Christian Horner has been sensationally sacked from the top job.
Once one of the most influential figures.
The longtime boss of the Austrian outfit has been removed without delay, and his next destination may already be locked in. Rumour has it, Horner is eyeing a move to Ferrari, sensing that the iconic Maranello team is desperate for a shake-up. But will this be enough to convince Vigna and Allen to shift course under Vasseur's lead? And more critically, is Red Bull facing a complete overhaul? The F1 community exploded as news broke of Christian Horner's immediate dismissal from Red Bull. And what's brewing among other team bosses now is pure tension. Clearly, there's been an ongoing internal struggle at Red Bull. While Horner may have seemed to gain control, the Verstappen-Marco faction may be the ones celebrating in the end. With Laurent Mekies from Racing Bulls taking over Horner's post, the key question is, what comes next? Let's shift focus to a team that's clearly stumbling under Ferrari's current leadership. We already know they've reached out to Horner not too long ago. His reply? Firm and clear. I don't speak Italian and I'm not leaving Red Bull. Technically accurate, he doesn't speak Italian and it wasn't his decision to exit. Red Bull made that call, so everything we assumed about Horner's stability is falling apart, and a new phase is beginning. Ferrari's been unable to deliver solid results week after week. A team that was expected to compete with McLaren is now barely holding ground. Sure, they've had some podiums, and Hamilton came close at Silverstone, but losing to Hülkenberg twice on raw speed in 2025 is a major red flag. Vigna and Allen have publicly said they'll back Vasseur at least through 2026, for now. Now that he's a free agent, it's unlikely Ferrari will hesitate before putting a major deal on the table. And it's easy to understand why. How do you overlook the legacy Horner built at Red Bull? 4 world titles with Vettel, a rocky era with Renault that evolved into a stunning comeback with Honda. Then there's last year, Verstappen clinching a title in the 3rd quickest car, a feat we haven't seen since the early 80s. We all remember who was team boss back then, but the Red Bull atmosphere simply stopped working for Horner. Since that messy internal drama involving Jos Verstappen and Helmut Marko, with Jos publicly blasting Horner, the writing was on the wall. It was clear Christian was walking a tightrope. A big motivator for Horner to consider a quick return to F1 lies in how things ended. According to Martin Brundle, Red Bull gave no solid explanation for cutting ties, just a sudden and complete removal from his responsibilities. Brundle added more detail, saying, "It's come totally out of nowhere, especially with everything going on inside the team and the friction we've been hearing from the Verstappen side. Personally, I'm disappointed. Christian's a friend and what he's achieved in 2 decades is remarkable. But honestly, the signs were there. Around the paddock, there's been a sense that something wasn't quite right behind the scenes." Verstappen's camp claims they were blindsided by Horner's exit, but an official statement clarified, "We were told about this decision by Red Bull leadership in advance. It's their call to explain the reasoning. Our focus remains on performance and getting back to the top." So, nothing really shifts publicly. Did Red Bull simply lose confidence in Horner's ability to steer the ship? Possibly. But let's zoom out for a second. Max Verstappen, a 4-time champion, kept deflecting questions about his long-term future with Red Bull, often suggesting that things were already settled. But after Horner's sudden removal, that no longer seems so certain. And let's not overlook what Horner managed to endure recently. He witnessed the departures of Adrian Newey, Jonathan Wheatley, and Will Courtney. And yes, Rob Marshall, the man shaping McLaren's resurgence, also walked away. Despite all of that, Horner's authority stayed intact. But when Verstappen's loyalty began to wobble, Red Bull's higher-ups stepped in fast. It's possible that quiet conversations took place between Max, Jos Verstappen, and Helmut Marko, and together they reached the conclusion that Horner was no longer the right fit. This isn't exactly a new sentiment either. Jos had reportedly been sounding the alarm about this for quite some time. Speaking on the matter, Max's father didn't hold back. "There's serious friction here while Horner stays in charge. The team's on the edge of collapsing. This can't continue, it'll blow up. He's acting like the victim, but he's stirring the conflict himself." But truthfully, this could be a fresh chapter for Horner. It's hard to imagine Ferrari not considering him. Just look at his track record. 8 drivers' titles and 6 constructors' championships. How many team bosses can say that? He's also the longest-serving principal in modern F1, with Wolff right behind. And even though Ferrari typically promotes from within, it's hard to believe they'll find anyone better than Horner. Sure, some difficult talks need to happen and both sides would have to leave certain memories in the past. But considering the clean slate and new culture he'd walk into, it may not be a big obstacle. So while it's not official, signs point to Horner making a push for a Ferrari move, or Ferrari courting him. What remains a mystery is Verstappen's role in all this. There are two main theories. First, Max has already agreed to a move to Mercedes. Insiders within Red Bull know it, and that's why they've pulled the trigger on Horner. If a full rebuild is coming, they'd rather start from zero. Why repeat the same issues with young prospects like Lindblad or Hadjar if Max won't be around anyway? It's safe to say everything begins with the team principle. Horner set the standard for leadership at Red Bull, always backing his drivers even when they struggled and helping them regain form. More than that, he constantly pushed for flawless execution, something Ferrari is clearly missing right now. On the flip side, it's possible Max laid down a firm line with Red Bull. If Horner stays in charge, he walks away. The timing of all this couldn't be more intriguing. It's unfolding right as we enter the summer break, when rumours are expected to swirl around Max and George's futures. Still, nobody predicted Horner's exit, which makes the situation even more fascinating. If Red Bull loses both Horner and Max, they could be in for a serious rebuild. And without Max on board, it's hard to see them staying out of the midfield once the new regulations kick in. Then again, maybe Verstappen wants to remain, but only if the team finally addresses the flaws that piled up under Horner's watch. Can you really fault him for wanting a clean slate? The pace has dipped, the upgrades haven't delivered, and the tech departments under Fallows and Newey seem out of fresh ideas. In that context, Max demanding change isn't a shock, it's survival. So yes, Max has every reason to push for changes. He understands his value, and no one should question it. If Horner's exit was triggered by Verstappen's influence, then it's obvious who holds the real power at Red Bull now. But let's not forget, Mercedes has had its eye on Verstappen for quite some time. And while it required a board-level green light, Mercedes CEO Ola Källenius confirmed they've now been cleared to go after him. That announcement came just before Horner was dismissed, so maybe Red Bull had another plan. Fire Horner to show Max they're all in to keep him. But that could backfire. Verstappen likely doesn't want to stay at a team that appears overly desperate to keep him happy. Regardless, we might soon see Horner leading both Leclerc and Hamilton at Ferrari. And frankly, it wouldn't be a bad move. Under his guidance, Red Bull consistently nailed strategy, the exact edge Ferrari needs if they're serious about returning to title contention. Because if we're being honest, it's not the drivers that are holding them back. With everything that's happened, we want to hear your thoughts. Could Horner really be Ferrari's next masterstroke? And more importantly, where do you think he'll land for 2026 and beyond? Drop your opinions in the comments below, and once you're done, hit that next video on your screen now.